Sometimes the most compelling stories, the ones about real power, they happen kind of behind the scenes.
Absolutely, out of the spotlight.
Exactly. So today, we're doing a deep dive into one of those, the Council. This was an African American organized crime group.
Right, and they really dominated the heroin trade in Harlem back in the 1970s.
Yeah, our main source here is the Wikipedia entry for the Council Drug Syndicate. And our goal really is just to understand, how did they start? How did they run
And
things?
what caused them to fall apart eventually?
Right. The key period seems to be between, 1972 and 1983, all starting in Harlem, New York City.
It's pretty remarkable, actually, how this specific group managed to, well, essentially take control of a huge part of the drug scene in a place like Harlem.
Definitely wasn't a small time thing.
No, it seems like a very calculated move starting in 72. And the name that comes up first is Nicky Barnes. He founded it.
Okay, Nicky Barnes. But it wasn't just him, right? The entry lists, seven main guys. Let's see, Leroy, Nicky Barnes, Guy Fisher,
Thomas Capps Foreman, Joseph Jazz Hayden.
Frank James, Ishmael Muhammad, and Wallace Rice. Quite a lineup.
Yeah, a council, literally.
Yeah.
And their main focus, clearly, was the heroin trade in Harlem.
But it sounds like they did more, like handling local criminal beefs, solving problems within that drug world.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
sort of imposed their own order, you could say, within their turf.
Yeah.
And, thinking about how organized crime worked then,
Mhm.
that connection to the Italian-American mafia is, well, it's key.
Ah, right. The source mentions Matthew Madonna.
Yeah, from the Lucci crime family. He was apparently their main source for the raw heroin, which is interesting in itself, that kind of cross-group cooperation.
So, okay, the mafia provides the raw stuff, and the council, they handle the processing, diluting it, packaging it up,
Right, cutting it to boost volume and profit. And then the distribution, starting in Harlem.
but they didn't stop at Harlem's borders.
No. Seems like they got ambitious. The info says they spread out through New York State, then New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
Wow, even Arizona and Canada are mentioned. That's a pretty extensive network.
It really is. Suggests they were pretty organized and efficient and
Yeah.
tapped into some serious demand.
To manage all that, they must have had alliances, but also enemies.
Oh, for sure. The Lucchese family were allies, obviously being suppliers,
Mm.
and the East Harlem Purple Gang is mentioned as another ally.
But you know how these things go. Alliances in that world, they can be shaky.
Exactly. The entry notes they also had rivalries with other gangs. And interestingly, maybe even friction within those alliances sometimes.
Paints a picture of just like constant maneuvering, always watching your back.
It really speaks to the inherent instability in these kinds of organizations, doesn't it? Cooperation gets you power, but greed, betrayal, it's always there.
Which kind of leads us right to the end of the story.
Yeah, the downfall.
So, Nicky Barnes, the founder, gets arrested in 1978. Sentenced to life. That's huge.
A major blow, yeah. But not the fatal one, apparently.
Because then in 1982, he becomes a federal informant. He flips.
Wow. The leader turning informant. You can only imagine the chaos that caused.
Total breakdown, I bet. The source says his testimony is what really broke the council apart.
Led directly to its dissolution in 1983. An organization built on, loyalty and secrecy.
Can't survive the top guy talking to the feds.
Pretty much impossible.
So wrapping it up then, we see the council rise fast, dominate the Harlem heroin scene, make that key connection with the mafia expand widely.
And then this dramatic collapse triggered by Barnes himself. Betrayal from the very top.
It really makes you think when you look at these complex webs, these criminal groups.
Yeah, what really makes one last versus another that just implodes like this? What are those critical factors for, stability or longevity in that world?
That's definitely something to chew on. Thanks for digging into this with us today.